Celtics lose 99-94 in overtime to the Bucks in the final game in the TD Garden for 2012. This is the Garden Report on Celtics blog and CLNS Radio. So big night for Monta Ellis. He really led the way for the Bucks on offense. It was pretty much an up and down game for both teams. A lot of mix of turnover, sloppy play, but then a lot of just incredible offensive play from the Bucks at the end of the game. Brandon, we'll start with you. I mean, how good was Monta Ellis tonight? Was he the downfall for the Celtics?
Monta Ellis, Monta Ellis is always, you know what you're going to get out of him. He's a high-scoring guard, and the Celtics just couldn't stop him tonight. He had numerous shots, numerous layups that just left us going, wow. Yeah. And that's what you get out of that guy. The Celtics just couldn't stop him. Good defense, even good defense, it's hard to stop him when he's playing like that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Ellis' numbers, and they're not astounding. He was 9 of 21 from the floor, not great. But he got to the line. I mean, he was constantly demanding double teams, just drawing all the attention on himself, and it made everything else open up for the Bucks offense. He was really influential in the game tonight.
What was amazing was Brandon Jennings played 48 minutes tonight, and he only went 4 for 11 and had 12 points. He had barely one more point than his field goal attempts. But it was a night really dominated by Ellis and then Luc Richard Mamute. So it's a handful to get through. But he had a huge game. He had 20 points. He's a defensive stopper. I mean, Evans, a defensive guy. He's known as a defensive guy. He was dominant on offense tonight.
Definitely. I mean, he picked his spots to kind of step up and hit jump shots. I mean, he had Jeff Green guarding him for a stretch, and he would just kind of get around Green, get an open shot, and knock it down. Garnett tried to stop him, couldn't do much. Mamute's he's a smart player. He takes good shots. He makes good passes. I mean, he's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he's a fundamentally sound player, and he had a good game tonight.
He almost reminds me of like a Corey Maggette, someone that the Celtics struggle with. Corey Maggette used to kill the Celtics every time he came into this building, anytime he went up against the Celtics, and that's what this guy reminded me of tonight. And Maggette was another guy that gave Pierce a lot of trouble. Pierce still ended up with 35 points, but Doc said in his post-game press conference as well, he did a good job defending tonight. Not only did he score 20 points, but he did a good job defending both Paul Pierce and Jeff Green.
And Doc talked about kind of the frustration of these he's grinding out losses. Usually we talk about grinding out wins with the Celtics, but now we're talking about grinding out losses. Let's take a look at the tape.
I've always, jokingly, and it's the truth, say it's a make-miss league. If this tonight wasn't evident of that, I mean, we had point-blank looks at the rim all through the game. Have one of the best shooters in the NBA, in Jet. I mean, and Kevin, and so we got them great shots. Just couldn't make them, and I thought as the game went on, you pressed more and more to make them, and just couldn't. So it's one of those games.
Let's talk about Paul Pierce. 35 points tonight. He has 75 points over his last 2 games. He's averaging almost a point a minute over these last couple games. He's on fire. He shot 13 for 23. He missed a couple shots in overtime, but his numbers were almost exactly the same as they were in the last game where he had 40 points. He became the oldest Celtic at 35 years old in like 70 days or whatever it was to score 40 points. But Brandon, Pierce still on fire, but the rest of the offense, I think, seems pretty much in the dumps right now.
Yeah, I mean, this was Paul Pierce's game. I actually tweeted out in the beginning of the second half, someone else besides Paul Pierce is going to have to step up if the Celtics are going to win this game. They didn't. Paul Pierce still almost put this team on his shoulders and led them to victory tonight. I don't know what's gone on with Paul Pierce these last 2 games. I don't know if someone forgot to tell him the world really isn't ending or what's going on there, but he is the truth right now. Paul Pierce is on fire, and he did it again tonight.
And the guys around him, they don't have unfixable problems here. I mean, it's Jason Terry and Kevin Garnett. They're taking good shots, and they're just not going in. I mean, Terry was saying he was just frustrated all night. He missed the first 3 shots, and he was sure the 4th one was going to go in. He'd missed the 4th one. He was sure the 5th one was going in. He stays confident. He takes good shots. They'll get through this. But right now they're in a slump, and Paul Pierce is carrying them through that. And you've got to give Pierce all the credit in the world for that.
And touching on Terry in the locker room tonight, he kept saying shooters are going to shoot. That's what he kept doing. You can't expect him just to stop shooting. I know Doc did pull him late in the game and they put Courtney Lee back into the lineup. But when Jason Terry's on the court, he's a shooter. He's going to continue to shoot, and he had a bad shooting night tonight.
And Garnett, too. I mean, Garnett was taking shots that he ordinarily makes. He had these little floaters in the lane. He had these 18-foot jumpers he normally knocks down. They just weren't falling for him, but they will going forward.
You can't, if you haven't figured it out by now, they shot 38% from the field. It was a bad night from the field. They took 94 shots. There's been a lot of shots going on lately. They had 100 shots in a game a couple games ago in the Garden. I mean, this team is definitely pushing the tempo a little bit more than they used to. Fast break points, 14 for them. So another decent night with fast break points. And let's just go into boxing out. But before we do that, we want to take a look at what Doc and Paul had to say about Paul's performance tonight.
And I thought Paul had to work way too hard for his shots. Monta he's a heck of a defender.
I don't know. I think right now it's this point in the season where I'm in a good groove right now. Feeling good about my shot, feeling good about my pace in the game. I'm just trying to do what I can to help this ball club win.
You guys have been trying to, Doc's trying to run you up more kick downs and things like that. The last couple, is it just been more of a free flow for you, or?
I don't know. I'm playing off other guys. I'm coming off screens. I'm, playing in pick and roll. I could do a number of things out there. It's just not one thing I'm focusing on, whether it's coming off the down screens. I just try to play the game. I think I'm smart enough to understand, my opportunities on offense. I don't come into the game saying, if I can get these off the down screens or the pick and rolls. I just play within the flow of the game, regardless of what it is, whether it's isolation, post up, guys making plays for me, where I'm open, knocking down shots. I think it's, always kind of been that way for me. I never know, how I'm going to score night in, night out. It just kind of goes within the flow, I think.
All right, let's box out now. We got Brandon, we got Evans here. We got 3 different stats to go through tonight. Brandon, let's start with you. What was your stat of the night?
I'm going to have to go with rebounds. Again, this team, rebounds is killing them. They put Jason Collins back in the starting lineup again tonight, second game in a row. It doesn't help on the rebounding end tonight. Got out rebounded tonight by the Milwaukee Bucks, 57-44. They let Larry Sanders, 20 rebounds for Larry Sanders tonight, and it ended up costing them the game late in the game. I believe they had a free throw up 1. Milwaukee was up 1 at the free throw line. They missed the free throw and got an offensive rebound off the free throw. You can't allow that to happen if you're going to win basketball games against a team like the Milwaukee Bucks.
We were talking about him. Who was ice cold tonight, Evans?
Well, a lot of guys, but primarily Jason Terry. I mean, Terry was 1 for 15 from the field. I mean, it's really a guy like that. You lean on him to hit big shots, and he just could not hit a single one tonight, it seemed. And Terry even went so far after the game as to say that this one was on him.
I was frustrated. For me, being a shooter, you get looks that you want, and they're not falling for you. So, especially when your team needs you most. So, again, I take this one on my shoulders. Maybe it's the Bucks. I don't know. I mean, that's 2 tough ones for me against them. So, got to shake it off. Shoot or shoot. So, guarantee I'll be back out there tomorrow morning, get my shots up, trying to make it right.
And you never want to go that far and say it's all on one guy. You got to blame one guy for that loss. But really, when you miss 14 shots and you lost in overtime, I mean, just one of those jumpers goes in and it's a whole new game. So, I mean, yeah, Terry's right. He had a rough night. He's got to bounce back next time, and it's going to be tough for him because this is a discouraging one for him and for the team.
One of those jumpers was from Paul Pierce, and one is my stat of the night. One game-winning block from Larry Sanders. I mean, that play was unbelievable. This guy is a shot blocking machine. He's gonna be like the guy from this generation that's known for being just like the versatile shot blocker. He reminds me a lot of what Sean Williams was doing when he was at BC. What was that, about 8 years ago now? It's a while ago. But I remember against Villanova, he had like a couple blocks like all the way out on the 3-point line. That's what he did. That's what Sanders did to Pierce tonight. It was unbelievable. I mean, Paul Pierce taking what would have been a game-tying 3 at the end of overtime, and Sanders flies out to the perimeter, which very few centers in the league are able to do, and actually gets a hand on the ball. It's questionable whether he got some wrist, but it pretty much looked like ball to me, and that was a legit block. But I mean, that's an incredible play from Sanders. One that's probably not going to get a lot of love in Celtics Nation, but as an objective basketball fan, you got to love plays like that. That was pretty incredible.
Pierce thought he got fouled.
What else is he going to say? Yeah, if you get one pinky on the wrist and 4 fingers on the ball, you're not gonna get the call on that one. I mean, that's a good block to me. All right, so let's ball up before we look ahead to the road trip. Ball up sponsoring by Brandon Paul this evening from CLNS Radio. Brandon, who was your baller of the night?
I got to go with Paul Pierce. It's a losing effort for the Celtics, but if you're going on baller of the night, one player tonight that stood out individually, Paul Pierce, 35 points, 3 of 23 from the field. You got to get it to the captain. He single-handedly put this team on his back. He put them into overtime with that huge 3 at the end of regulation. You got to go with Paul Pierce.
Evans.
I'll go with Larry Sanders. And it's not just the stats, which were amazing. 20 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 steals. He was doing everything on defense. But just the presence he had in the paint. I mean, how many times did Rajon Rondo get to attack the rim tonight? You know, how many times did Jeff Green and Paul Pierce just cruise to the basket for layups? No, they had to settle for jumpers all night long, and it was because Larry Sanders was there scaring them off. He's an incredible presence defensively. He was awesome tonight.
Well, I want to do Sanders, but I can't because you already stole him.
I'm sorry.
I want to
My
mix it
bad.
up. So Monta Ellis, for all the aggravation that there is with his inefficiencies and his boneheadedness at times, the guy is just unstoppable. When you think of ballers, you think of like the guy on the court that can just dribble and fly past everybody. That's like kind of the classic definition of a baller. He is a baller tonight. I mean, he blows by guys. His crossover is incredible. He can go multiple ways, although he pretty much always likes to go to his right. But the way that he gets from the top of the key to the rim in 2 steps is just unbelievable. There's very few guys in the league that can do it. There's Ty Lawson, there's, I guess, Paul at times, Rose, Westbrook, Durant, and LeBron. I think those are the only few guys I can really think of that can get from that, cover that distance in those few steps. And it's just unbelievable. And the Celtics couldn't stop it tonight. Rajon Rondo's defense continues to be a little bit shaky. There was a mix of, I think we saw a little bit of Rondo, who for the most part was shutting Jennings out of the play, out of the game at least. But, Terry got exposed really bad in this game by Ellis. He just couldn't keep up with them. And Ellis just, I thought, all around had a great scoring night and also passed the ball pretty well too. So really good all-around night for him.
Yeah, I can't argue with you there. I mean, 27 points, leading scorer for Milwaukee tonight.
We're really looking ahead.
Moving ahead here, past Christmas. But another thing that sticks out, Monta Ellis, when he was with the Warriors, he was a big-time three-point shooter. He attempted 1 3-point field goal tonight. That really surprised me from a guy like Monta Ellis to only see him attempt one shot behind the arc.
All right, now let's attempt one look ahead at the rest of the schedule for 2012. The Celtics going on the road. They're in Brooklyn on Christmas Day. Then they have, I think, Sacramento, but before that, the Clippers and the Golden State Warriors before they come back home to face, I think it's Memphis, right, on that first Wednesday of the year. But how do they close out the season, Evans? We'll start with you. Do you think because it's a tough road trip? I mean, they're facing a Brooklyn team that's ice cold right now and is losing every game. But the Clippers are as good a team as there is in the league right now, and the Warriors have been a great surprise so far. Before the Kings, which is pretty much one of those games where you expect them to not show up because they think that they can't, and then it's actually a pretty decent game. But do you think that they can actually get through this road trip with a winning record?
I don't know. I wouldn't bet on it, but we'll see. I mean, they need to be tested on the road. They've lost 5 in a row on the road. They need a wake-up call. They need a game to really just get them in gear. It's going to be a test going up against the Clippers at LA. It's going to be a test going into Golden State. It's going to be tough for them. And I'm not going to make any guarantees about winning records, but they need to give a good effort and just kind of get their confidence back because they have not been winning on the road in about a month. I mean, it's been really troubling for them.
And this road trip, this has been a road trip that has even scared fans, and I don't want to say scared this team, but has been painful even when the Celtics are playing very, very good basketball in the 2008 years, 2009 years. So now you have a team that's shaky, that hasn't yet found its identity, that's struggling to really come up with a solid rotation, and then you're taking them on this road trip. It's a scary road trip. I'm hoping they can get it kicked off the right way in Brooklyn on Christmas Day. But past that West Coast road trip, that's a tough trip.
And the tough thing is that California swing. They're facing teams that are athletic, that can also shoot the ball and have good depth. And I think that's what's really hurting the Celtics right now is a lack of depth over the past week or so, really. It's been pretty much all Pierce, and then Rondo, his numbers may not look good, but his usage rate is pretty high. He's involved with pretty much all these plays, but they just have been a little bit inefficient. But they're going to be going up against teams that during the early second quarter, early fourth quarter, they can really make runs on you with guys like Eric Bledsoe out there. These are teams that can have second wins throughout the game, and that's really going to hurt the Celtics.
And the Celtics' depth is not at its best right now. You got Wilcox with a little thumb injury. You got Jeff Green, we should mention. He had a little injury tonight.
Oh, geez, that was
injured
brutal.
his cheek and chipped his teeth. He's got some problems. We've got Leandro Barbosa, who's away from the team for personal reasons. The Celtics have taken a couple hits to their depth lately. They need Avery Bradley back. They need Kevin Garnett and Jason Terry to hit some shots. I
Yeah.
mean, they need a lot of things to fall into place if they're going to win some games on this road trip. It's not going to be easy, but they've got what it takes if everyone comes through.
All right, Brandon, this is a special edition with you joining us here, coming down from Maine to join us. Do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap up the show?
Just a tough game for the Celtics tonight. This was a game that they needed to win. They're going on a tough road trip. This would have been a good way to set them off into the holidays, send them off to Brooklyn for Christmas and for Christmas Day, and they didn't do it. They had plenty of chances. This game should have been over in the first half when they easily had the chance to put this to a double-digit game, and they continued to let Milwaukee hang around, and that's what ended up biting.
All right, well, they lose 99-94 to the Bucks in overtime. This is our final Garden Report of 2012. We'll be back on Wednesday the 2nd against Memphis in 2013. We'll also be completely hungover from New Year's. I think it's going to take us a couple days to recover from that one. But we'll do our best to at least sound sexy for you. So for Evans Clinchey, for Brandon Paul, I'm Jared Weiss. We'll see you next time on the Garden Report.